Welcome everyone to the Miss Art World podcast. I'm Catherine with my co-host Samuel. Welcome, Samuel.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
And
oh man, I got my new slogan already. Dang it. What was it? What's up, T-Pain? Is that what my new?
Yeah, I was hoping you'd forget that one.
I'm gonna write it down. I think it's good. It's a winner. It's still better than howdy, howdy, howdy. I believe so.
We'll get there. You'll find your opening one of these days.
Yeah, because I can't steal what's up, art world. But sometimes you say that.
I do. Today we have a really exciting guest. We have Liz Reed with Cuddles and Rage. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Liz is part of a husband and wife team that make disturbingly cute, is it items, stories?
We call it stuff because it's a whole hot mix of stuff, from like animation to sculptures to books.
Well, and you guys are all over the place. So you have a YouTube channel, you're on Instagram, you have Etsy, you're on Facebook too. Your animations are really cute. I really enjoyed looking at your YouTube channel today. But you sent us your newest book to go through, and we did a unboxing and we were able to go through the book. And what was really fun was the scratch and sniff card.
Oh
yes,
gosh.
That was fun.
So it's a scary moment for a lot of people because the smells are intense. I'm glad you had fun.
It was a lot of fun.
The two that we got through for the unboxing were very pleasant. So
very nice.
Because we did the first one and that was like a strawberry, which I thought was great. And then we randomly picked one because we were scared that it was going to be very smell bad, because it said if you dare, and I was like
Yeah, you don't want to get moldy cheese or natural gas. Like
we
had one person. Yeah, you're totally safe. You got very lucky.
So how did you come up with the idea for the scratch card?
Yeah, so we're huge fans of John Waters, and I don't know if you've seen the movie Polyester, but when that originally came out, I think it was maybe in theaters, he did like a smellorama, a odorama, I think. I'm probably getting it wrong still, but he basically had like a scratch and sniff experience for that film. And when they re-released the Blu-ray, that's something that they did as well. So we're like, oh my gosh. So with Bites of Terror, a graphic novel, it's mixed media. And so we thought that why don't we make it this even fuller experience and include some smells in there so that when people are going through the book, they can kind of live it themselves. And that's how the idea for the scratch and sniff came about. And figuring out how to put it together and the quantity was a little bit of a nightmare, but it was well worth going through all the different smells and finding a company that would work with us.
How do you even start? Like, that's such for a book, it makes sense how to put a book together just because I've done it. But like the scratch and stuff, I don't even know where you'd start.
I mean, you start with an online search, and then our problem was that most of these scratch and sniff companies like work with like major companies, like Lever and like, I don't know, Tide, all those kind of places. And so we had to find this like small company in the Midwest that would basically spray the odors on just clear stickers that we then like hand constructed ourselves on cards that we had printed locally here in Baltimore.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So it was kind of mom and pop, but figuring out how to actually get the smells in hand was very, very interesting. Like they sent us samples of like over 100 smells. So we'd like scratch a smell and see what it was close to in the book. And then almost like when you have to cleanse your palate, we'd have to do the same thing with our nose and then go on to the next scent. It was very weird going through it. And I learned a lot about the scratch and sniff industry.
What was your favorite smell from?
Oh, Campfire. Did you guys get to that one?
No, not yet.
Okay, that was a good one. And some people don't like that smell, but to me, how could you not? It's like you're instantly outdoors. And
Mhm.
it matched well with the story that it was paired with. So basically, I don't know if I mentioned this, but yeah, each story has its own signature smell. So you would hit a certain panel and then it would say, scratch there.
Mhm.
So that's what made it a little bit complicated with having 10 smells on one card. It could be a bit overwhelming. Like when we sent the cards to our publisher to send out for press, um we like triple bagged it and it still didn't like seal in like the hundreds of cards that we sent to them.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I now have them, the ones that we have left over because they were limited edition. I have them stored deep in our closet so the smells are safe.
So, you guys are who did the design on the little creatures or the little
Yeah,
candies?
who's
And
the writer and who's the artist, or is it kind of both of you?
It's a little bit of both. Like the writing is definitely both of us. So like with Bites of Terror, it's a horror anthology, so it was really easy to split up. So my husband Jimmy took half the stories, and then the main story, because we have a horror host called the Cake Creeper. So he took that storyline, and then I took my 5 stories and wrote them. In terms of the art, like I'm the main sculptor and photographer, so I did most of that. But since it was like a huge graphic novel, he would step in and help me sculpt side characters and make some of the props because everything for us, the book is told through dioramas and not like traditional illustration. So that kind of took a lot of planning, which we did together, and constructing all the sets and all the little props within the short period of time that we had. It was definitely something where Jimmy got his hands dirty in there too, which I completely appreciate.
so when you sculpt, what kind of material are you using most of the time?
So I'm mostly using polymer clay and usually Primo, but I'll also use Magic Sculpt depending on what's needed for the actual character. Because Primo is mostly a craft clay that you can bake. And sometimes you have to deal with like an air dry clay and one that's stronger, just like with Magic Sculpt, a lot of taxidermists use it,
Mhm.
which people always freak out when I say that. I'm like, but that like taxidermy is an art form in itself. Like that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, mostly those kind of materials for the characters. And then when it comes to the scenes, I mean, anything is game. Like sometimes people get creeped out when I say I use human hair. Why not? That's a texture. Because when it comes to the scenes, the characters are clay and you can tell that they're clay. So that means that like their surroundings need to have different textures to bring it to life. And,
Mhm.
so sometimes, I'll use the traditional like painted sawdust for dirt, or like little things like cotton for clouds. Like those are just like basic generic things, but then it gets more complicated into using sandpapers for textures and trash. I collect a lot of trash, and it got to the point that the past like 3 months I've been like, I need to accept that some of these quote unquote props are actually trash that I can't make into treasure, and let's get rid of some of it. But I'd say things like wrappers, or like on a milk carton or any kind of carton, that little plastic part at the top that's like a ring, I would use that as like headbands for a character. I mean, that's the great thing about working in mixed media. And Catherine, I've seen some of your work too. It's like anything can be turned into art, and that is the best part about making a mixed media story.
And I totally get the saving everything. And you're like, one day I'll use this. And you're like, my house doesn't have enough room for all of this stuff. Like I have an entire bin of like stuffing that you out of like bears and stuff. I have a whole bin of that. I'm like, I'm gonna use that one day, but I don't know why I'm keeping it sometimes. So
I feel your stuffing problem. I have a big old bag underneath my crawl space, and I'm like, when maybe I'll teach myself how to sew one day.
mhm.
But yeah, it might be time for me to get rid of it.
Do you in your house or art studio, do you have a designated space where it's like this is the set and you have the lights and you're shooting your pieces?
Yeah, so I'm actually in our little studio now. So we have a room in our house that's dedicated to our art. So I have, I have my lights and I have my backdrops and I have a huge I'm it's a hunt and to me it's a haunted it's a haunted a dollhouse. So I have everything I need in here, which is great. And then in my upstairs study area, like that's where I do all my editing. Because that is like, going back to the space thing, there are props and miniatures that I have to keep around. And I'm just thankful to have the amount of space, but it also means that there's like a lot of organization involved. So this whole wall behind me is just a huge shelving unit that helps me store everything. But we get asked a lot if we keep our dioramas, and we don't because that would take up too much space. It's sad when you have to take apart a piece of art, but luckily it's captured in a photograph
Mhm.
because with the type of work that we do, telling long form stories with dioramas, our sets a lot of times are kind of, they're not constructed that we could sell them and ship them. We've done one of those rooms before for a gallery show, and those get really, really heavy. So, and a bit more complicated than what people expect, making something sturdy enough to ship.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get, because the like main body of the people, like the cake with the missing eye, and just like
That's
your main
Samuel's favorite
that is my
character.
favorite. That's
Oh,
the storyteller, the cake caper,
okay,
right?
creeper. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, he like they always look the same, but the body parts move. Are you drawing in the body parts after, or are they actually part of the scene? Um, like how does that work?
Yeah, so for the body parts, those are made out of like a rubber mold material called rebound from Smooth On. So essentially that's used to make molds for sculptures, but I used it, I painted it on wire so that and dyed it black so that we could have movable limbs. And before we would sculpt the limbs, but then that would have just been ridiculous for how big a book it was to try and get all the different positions. So that really helped. And then for the mouths, for the cake creeper specifically, I did kind of, go like the Leica route and sculpt different expressions for him. But for other characters, if they had really simple mouths, for him, he had teeth and everything. But if it was a simple mouth, then I would just take clay and adjust the expression as needed. So the body of the character would be baked and hard, but then I would have a hole for the mouth that I would fill with clay and
Okay.
adjust, and then as needed, edit and Photoshop. But the goal for us is to always do as little in post as possible, because it reaches a point where you can just tell that it's fake and it takes people out of the story.
Mhm. I didn't even think when you talked about having the mixed media within the story, just as reading it or looking through it, um, it didn't even occur to me that, because for some reason I would have just assumed you did it all in the same media, in just all clay or something like that. But you're right, like it didn't take. I think it would have maybe thrown me off seeing it all in clay, because like you had the little strawberry, and the strawberry, like all the people look the same, but then he's on like the bed, the hospital bed, which looks like a real hospital bed, just like this tiny little hospital bed there. So,
Yeah, thank you. That's some trash that I saved to make that hospital bed.
oh really?
Yeah, I had like some canvas bag that I cut up to make the texture for the mattress. But yeah, you're totally right. And like one of our first books that we did actually behind me, which is Sweet Competition, which was a 32-page picture book, which is kind of where we started after doing our webcomic and before getting into graphic novels. And that one does have a lot of sculpted props in it. And I love that book. I think it's a really fun story, and people adore it as well. But I think that because of the clay, it didn't have the richness that some of our later books had. So we learned a lot from that book and making sure that texture was kind of our number one priority when building a scene.
That's cool. How did you come up like, how'd you come up with all the little characters? Did you have to go through a grocery store, like going to a bakery and just kind of look at them and then take a picture and then design it?
And off of that, Samuel, so I really enjoy kind of this, like, sorry, I really enjoy the dynamic between these like super cute characters and this like drama that is unfolding. And I wonder if that plays into like Samuel's question with the inspiration and how you came up with these ideas.
Yeah, that's a great question. So sometimes I will, do an internet search for different types of desserts or different types of foods, just so we're not like repeating the same thing over and over. Like we didn't want, two strawberry stories. Or when it comes to color and design, like you don't really want too many warm characters in the same scene. You want like a warm and a cool character. So I will do that. But when it comes to the stories, it's kind of sometimes the food comes first, and it's like, okay, what kind of like horror scenario can we put this food in? Or sometimes the idea comes first, where with this book we were playing with like a lot of horror tropes, so we had a whole spreadsheet of different horror tropes. And when it comes to fruit and like mold, of course you think like the zombie trope, so that's where we went with that one. But if you take something with reap what you sow, I don't want to like spoil that one, but we needed, that was the type of story where a baked good wouldn't work for that, just because of the logistics of how the story unfolds. So then that's where we put a watermelon in there. So it really just depends on what got us there first, like whether it's the food or the idea. But if but Samuel, if I do see a really cute food in a grocery store and in a bakery, I will pull my phone out and take a picture of it and, be that person who's like, no, I don't want to eat it. I just want to look at it. But I think people in real life do that anyway. So it kind of works out.
I don't know. I've never pulled my phone out. I was like, I'm going to take a picture of this cookie.
Oh, what? Ah, you should.
I'll buy it and eat it. But, I think you probably look at sweets in a whole different way than most people.
That is true. I definitely pay attention to the textures. And one thing when designing a character that a lot of people don't think about, especially when they're starting out with clay, is what's shiny and what's not shiny. That makes a huge difference. So if you try and gloss, a piece of food, like if I put gloss on a cookie, that would look totally weird. But if you have a cake and you gloss the icing, like there is some shine and some icing. So it totally works out and makes sense. Yes. So I think I spend way too much time staring at pictures of food.
What is your
Go, Katie.
What's your background? Did you start off as a sculptor, and like tell us about how you came from your journey?
Yeah, no, totally. So my background is actually in film and television. So after grad school, I wanted to go and be a documentarian. But then I didn't learn the business side of it. You're like, wait, how do you get people to pay you? So I ended up working in nonfiction television for 7 years. And that's where I met my husband. And outside of work, we wanted to, be more creative outside of what we were doing, because we were working in very like technical positions. So we decided to make a comic in our off hours and post it online, which somehow grew from an illustrated comic to us, sculpting characters and making dioramas. And, doing that little gesture led to us going to comic conventions, and from there, meeting editors saying you should make a book. And then at that point in life, you just say, yeah, we'll make a book. So that kind of kicked off the career into making comics and leaving my job in television to do this full time. And it's been a really crazy journey ever since. And so I think that's why, outside of the publishing world, I still work on mini documentaries on the side for myself. And we were talking about animation before this, and I still love animating, and we even do like this thing called handmation, where we take our sculptures and almost like a kid would play with their toys, we act out scenes with our hands, and having that visual aspect, that you know telling stories through video, that'll always be part of my life. I feel like I could never say goodbye to that.
Mhm.
And that's what you have posted on your YouTube channel, right? The animations with your characters.
Oh yeah, like the animations and the handmations. So
Do you have the animations on your YouTube?
yeah, so we have this thing called corndog drama, which is probably the best known one. That actually went viral on TikTok. And that is like a junk food soap opera where we have like this love triangle between these three corn dogs. And yeah, that whole series is on our YouTube. We're just about done with season 1 if people want to check it out and follow it. We're huge David Lynch fans, and so it's not a Lynchian junk food soap opera, but in David Lynch's work, I mean, it's like a soap opera. And so to tell these exaggerated stories, it's so much fun. And outside of our disturbingly cute stuff, I mean, it is still disturbing storytelling, but it's less horror and more drama. So yeah, I think people should check it out. We have a lot of younger audience members who demand their next episode of corn dog drama, and I want to be like, it takes a long time to make sets. Like, calm down, but thank you so much for supporting us.
So for what is a handmation? Because I didn't see.
Okay, that's just a made-up term that
we are coining it. It's totally not made up to me now. I'm gonna go around and be like, no, they do handmation.
Yeah, handmation. So that's a term that we made up because it kind of doesn't, like, people, we also describe it as live action, but when you say live action, you kind of think of people, right? So with handmation, it really is just us. I know, I think I have a corn dog drama like murder set to the left of me, but I don't have a corn dog now. It's just really taking our characters, and having our little hands in the scene and acting it out,
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's
Kind of
definitely
like that really old Action Time Now. Did you ever? You probably didn't, on Nickelodeon. You've never seen
no.
that? They had like basically what my little brother would always do, would have his toys and he would film the toys and they would like talk, but there's always hands moving them. And they like move the little arms, and they would have all these like weird, they're supposed to be like a superhero team, but always not being very good.
That sounds amazing.
Toys. Yeah, it's called Action Time Now.
Okay, I will have to look that up, but that is exactly what it is. And I think it's so much fun that people think that like just the kids are supposed to sit there and play with their toys, but no, adults can too, and it's hilarious and fun. And I think more people should do it.
Well, it's always fun to play with the little kid with the toys, and I think that's that you get to do it and get make a living off of it, when most adults, just the only time they get to kind of be kids again is when they're playing with another little kid. Because you can kind of come up with the stories, because most times their stories are awful.
Sometimes they're genius. We wouldn't have Axe Cop if it wasn't for a kid, making great stories. But when you think about that, a lot of adults like don't get to make art unless they're with a kid. And that to me is really sad. I think that more adults should be taking time to, step out of their day-to-day and maybe do something kid-like, like even working with, like I teach workshops, and a lot of times I'll have adults come and work with like Crayola air dry clay, and they'll come out of it and be like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. It's like, yeah, like go to the kids section of the craft store. It's not intimidating, and just try and make something after your work hours. It's relaxing, it's therapeutic. But yeah, a lot of people kind of just say that's for kids, but when you sit down and actually do it, it's a blast.
Yeah. Well, it's also, you said therapeutic. It really is, because it's better than just getting off work, going home and binging TV and just trying to zone out, when you actually get to, work with your hands. Because I feel like a lot of times you're sitting on the computer all day, and then you come home, you stare at another screen, when you should be, you know, doing something, and doing something with your hands, especially probably sculpting, really helps.
Yeah, and even for my friends who are traditional illustrators, they find it therapeutic to pick up something like clay and to work with it as well, because it's kind of the same thing where you're, you know, now most people are staring at screens when they're illustrating. And so you forget what it feels like if you're not like a traditional painter, what it feels like to actually have the materials in your hands. And for people who are like addicted to television, you can still do both. You can watch your television, and that's what I do at night. You know, I do my sculpting at night in front of the TV because during the day I'm usually animating. So yeah, you can sneak in your whatever you're marathoning.
Do you ever sell any of your little people?
I
that-
do, yes. But the difference is that, you know, with the bendable arms, they usually have to have like sculpted static arms, because I haven't found a way where I can justify selling them with the arms because the arms are so fragile. And so I'd really hate for somebody to just have an arm and then have a wire pop out and then they start bleeding, because I know how that goes.
Because it would be fun to have like you sell little pieces, then you could do your own little scene on like a countertop or something like that.
No,
Especially in your kitchen. Now I'm gonna do that for my kitchen, I feel like.
I agree. Yeah, I think that'd be genius and so much fun. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the it's a really popular TikTok when they have a YouTube channel too called Noodle and Bun. These guys took off and now they have like 4.4 million followers. And what they did with their guys is they made plushies of this cat and dog and mouse that they created as their main characters, and they are bendable, but they're covered in plush, so so that nobody gets injured. But that was kind of like their same thought behind that, is like having people do stop motion with these characters. And so I'll have to knock on their door. Yeah.
How is the like husband and wife partnership dynamic? Like, are you, because I work a lot with my husband and sometimes it's great and sometimes I want to kill him, but we're not working together all the time. Like, how have you figured out ways to work with each other that are, I mean, obviously you're successful, so it's you figured it out, but how's that with working with a partner?
It doesn't always feel like we figured it out. You're right. I mean, like some days it's like super smooth and magical, and some days, you know, it's a little frustrating. But I think for us, you know, the relationship always comes first. And so the job is second. That's always been important. And we lean into each other's strengths. Like, he is at heart a manager and is very organized and is always looking at the big picture. I am very detail oriented and can get lost in the detail. You know, I'm the stereotypical like messy artist where everything is all over the room, and you know, he has a space for everything in life and on his desk. So I think we lean into those balances. So when I'm feeling lost and scattered, you know, I lean on him for the guidance, and he's really the one that helps us keep the projects on track. And then for, you know, for what I add to it, like, what do I add to it? I add to it the chaos.
Always important. You always need
yes.
some chaos.
Yes.
Where the magic happens.
Taking us off topic. I know, because he's hilarious too, and his jokes are really funny. So I think a lot of times you have these people where you have like this, you know, like the straight man and then the oddball. But he can flip into both, which is really crazy to me. So I mean, I just think we lean on each other when needed, and if he is getting frustrated with something design wise, then you know, I'll pick it up. So um I think it's just kind of come about organically on how we work things out. But you know, that's not without conflict. You know, I think every couple that I've talked to that work together, you're gonna go head to head. You don't get to leave the house and go talk to a spouse and bitch complain about your partner. So we try and make sure that any issue gets resolved, as any good marriage should.
Mhm.
Yep. you go, come to the next room. I need to talk to my spouse, and you go in there and bitch about your business partner. Like, that guy's an asshole.
Yeah, there's no HR to go complain to.
No, and we definitely have to like designate meeting time. So we actually, because he still has his day job, so we meet at 6 a.m. every morning and talk about the business, and then during the day I do the artwork, and then we'll come back and meet again and work on the weekends. So I think that's helpful. Like I know a lot of couples try and have a good division on when to stop talking about work. So we typically don't talk about work at night. And even though I'm still working on the side, we try and watch a movie together and, focus on something else. I think you have to have passions together outside of your job to kind of keep the relationship going. I mean, it's the same thing as I don't want to compare it to having kids because that's a totally different thing. But when you have a couple and all they talk about are the kids, then the actual relationship kind of dissolves. Same thing with a business. So we try and make sure that we have, similar interests and hobbies that we can lean into. And I think that also takes the pressure off of, you know, arguing and putting so much weight into working together in the business.
That I like that.
No, that it's helpful because I know there are a lot of artists who do work with their significant other, and I feel like it's so great to have someone there that you can bounce ideas with and work with, but it also, I think at times can be difficult. So
Yeah, and I think the other key thing for us too, is that creatively we each have our own side projects that we do as well. I think sometimes you just want to sit there and be like, you know what? I don't want opinions on this. I want something that's just mine.
mhm.
And that is super duper healthy too. I think everybody should have something that is just theirs. And when they're ready to seek out opinions, that's when it can happen. But from start to finish, it's something that they just get to have control over.
Mhm.
So with your Bites of Terror, that's your latest book. Um, is the best place to go to find that on your Etsy page?
Oh, it's in stores everywhere. So I would say that Amazon is a good place. Also like local bookstores or comic stores. A lot of them have it. If they don't, they can order it for you because it came out with Quirk Books. So it came out at the start of the pandemic too, which was
Oh, did it?
yes, like literally like right when people were trying to figure out if they can leave the house or if the world's going to melt down. So that knocked out a lot of our promotion. So
And then the scratch and sniff, people complained it didn't work because they couldn't smell it because they had COVID.
no, I hope not. I don't know. They're pretty strong, but I think that if you're doing that smell therapy to get your smell back, then you might need to buy a card because it'll
Yeah.
definitely help you get you there. But yeah, so like all of our conventions that we were going to go to sell the books that we bought, they all got canceled. So that's why we do have them on our Etsy. And so they're available there too, and we will sign them. But yeah, you can pretty much get them at Barnes and Noble, any bookstore.
Are you
Do-
planning? Oh, go ahead, Samuel.
No, just another question about the scratch and sniff card. Do all of them come with the scratch and sniff? I'm so fascinated by the scratch and sniff card.
No, they're limited edition. So we only made, I think we made 100. No, we think we made 200 of them. So once they're gone, they're gone. So right now you can get them through our Etsy.
You people better jump on it right away because it was a fun thing to do.
Are you?
Thank you.
Kept the book because I wanted to read all the way through it because I'm a little faster reader than Katie. I was like, okay, so I've been reading through it and doing some of the scratch and sniffs, which is fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I hope you continue on to the good ones.
Yep.
Are you planning on doing, now that things are opening back up, do you have like conventions that you guys are planning on going to, or?
So the major one that we would be going to is they're kind of doing virtual events, but that kind of got canceled in a way too. So As of this year, no. But we are still trying to, promote it online as much as possible. And then next year, we've already got a heads up from a lot of the comic conventions that we do that they will be picking back up. So yeah, it's a really weird time for conventions. I know some conventions are picking up, but they haven't actually had them yet. So I'm curious to see how those regulations will work out. I've already been reading online like the mask or no mask debates, and it's kind of a hot mess in that world.
Because I could see like your fans wanting to go and like meet you guys and get the book. And I'm sure you bring like some characters like that. If you guys came to LA, I'd be like, all right, let's go, because I would want to see the characters.
Oh yeah, not the creatures, but the main characters would be a lot of fun to see in real life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, whenever we have a setup, we always try and have a character from the book there, and then we have our sculptures that we sell. And so, yeah, it was kind of a bummer to not get to see those familiar faces at the conventions that always come by and grab your new book. But I'm hoping that we'll see those people, next year, and that face-to-face interaction of getting to meet new people and getting to spread the word about your book. It's like, didn't get to do that next year, but I feel like it's just going to be double powerful in 2022. People are just going to be so excited to just be out and about. So I'm hoping for a really good year next year.
Are you currently working on a new book?
Go ahead, Samuel.
Are you currently working on a new book?
We're working on a new pitch right now. So hopefully that'll come together, and we'll get that to our agent who will then send it off to our publisher, and we'll see how that goes. But that one will be in a different style than one that we've ever done before. I guess when you do mixed media, you get addicted to trying out different things. So we'll see how that one's perceived.
Do you have a favorite character that you really that you like and are drawn to?
In the book or in general?
Let's say in general.
In general, right now I'm pretty addicted to corndog drama. So, well, not only are corn dogs very easy to sculpt, a lot of people are like, "Are those potatoes on a stick?" I'm like, "No, it's a corn dog."
Who puts a potato on a stick? Who?
Well, I mean, I think a corn dog is very American, and so
okay.
Yeah, like when people come to America, that's like one of the things that they're like, "I'd like to have a corn dog," or hot dog is very American too. So I could see the confusion there. But yeah, I think I just love them because it's called corn dog drama because there is just so much drama. And my friend who has like the best, like bitchiest tone does does one of the voices, and it's just like, she's so good. And then to see people quote her in the comments, it just warms my heart, because it's just so, it's a, not only is it Jimmy and I making this, but it's a group of people. It's including our friends to voice characters, and it just feels like a bigger experience than some of our other, video stories that we've told.
Are they in person, like doing the hand animation and voicing, or do you do the voiceovers later?
Oh, the voices overs are later.
Okay.
So Jimmy and I are the ones controlling the hands. And so, you might see one corn dog's named Susan. So you might see Susan with Jimmy's like hairy hand there, which maybe adds to the charm. But with my friend, since technology is amazing, she doesn't have a microphone or anything. She just does it on her iPhone. And then, I go up and Adobe Audition and clean it up. And, it sounds sometimes just as good as my like Yeti microphone that I'm talking into. So, that allows us with iPhones to, hit up anybody that we meet that we think has a good voice and just tell them, go in your closet and record. And I just think we live in an amazing time where people all over the world can collaborate so easily.
Yeah. What kind of filming equipment do you guys use?
So I just have my Canon Mark IV 5D. So I've had that for a really long time. I looked at upgrading my camera, but then I was like, you know what? No, It's actually doing pretty good. I looked at the mirrorless cameras. I don't know if you guys deal with like video equipment at all.
On the
So
basic level.
okay. Yeah.
If
So
you
I
asked me
looked at,
what camera I'd have, I'd be like,
oh, I thought this question was coming because I've had like a few cameras. So I like looked at my camera. I was like, okay, you better know that that answer. But yeah, it's just a DSLR. And sometimes honestly, if I'm in a pinch, I'll just use my iPhone too. I think that even if you're used to using like really nice equipment, it's better to get the content out there than to, let it's because sometimes it's cumbersome, to get the lights set up and to get like the computer
Yeah.
out and the camera out. And so I've just decided that I'd rather get the art made and get it out there than to do the whole setup sometimes. So I go back and forth, but mostly I use my DSLR.
Because if you get tied down to that, then you're sometimes you just don't have enough time to even put up the lights and the setup, and then you just don't do anything. Like I run into that issue when I'm recording videos with my staff too. Like I'm trying to make it look super nice and professional, and there's a certain point where it's just like, it's just for my staff members anyway, so I just need to sit there and just use my iPhone. Like, this is how you open this door. This is how you go get the equipment here.
That's awesome. No, exactly. And I think when it comes to things like, TikTok or even Zoom, we've become a lot more acceptable of different video quality. It's really all about getting the information out there.
Yep. And then your camera, when you normally film, especially with the corndog drama, do you flip it towards you so you can see it? Or is someone behind actually videotaping?
So I have my computer set up as my monitor. So we
Okay.
have that close to the set so we can kind of see if we are in frame. But the one thing that does get a little bit hard is that, I'm shooting mostly with a macro lens because everything's small. And so like having the character in frame and then getting the camera in focus is kind of really annoying. Where you're just kind of, I'm short, I'm only 5'4", so my arms don't go far. So sometimes I'll have to lean on my husband to reach over and get everything in focus. So that's when I really wish we had a third person in the room to help out.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, because we're running out of time, when we first started, I was saying that you guys are on everything because you have a podcast too. What is your favorite component of your entire business? Is it the sculpting part of it is your favorite? And then like, obviously you have to do marketing and Instagram and TikTok. Would you say the sculpting is the favorite element to the business?
I mean, I think it's the storytelling. It's the writing. Because I think that at the heart of it, you can have the prettiest piece of art, but if your story is not there, then nobody's going to care. Or you could have a stick figure with a great story and people are going to care. That's going to pull emotion out of people. So I think that in that moment where you have the idea and it feels like everything is possible before you actually have to go out and make it, that's the most magical moment ever. And if I could live in that moment forever, I would. But the reality is, if you write a story, you got to find a way to put it out there. I think that's where everybody gets stuck, is they have a great idea and they can never take the next step. So that to me is the magic. And I think that's why we're addicted to telling stories in so many different ways. Because it all comes down to, what kind of reality can we create today? And I think that even if this career ended for me, I would still be writing stories on my own, just for my own entertainment.
That's awesome. And then are you on TikTok?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
We joined TikTok early on when it was still a lot of people dancing. And at that time it was a real opportunity I was like, why aren't people telling stories on here? So I think that helped us get a pretty good audience and the opportunity to go viral on there. So we have a healthy audience on TikTok, which is funny because now I don't know if you guys are on there, but now everybody's telling stories. And I just love seeing how that app, evolved so much. So yeah, we're on TikTok. I think that's one of the most entertaining apps. It's one that I can't stay on for long because I get too addicted to it. It's full of juicy gossip and it's full of funny stories and cute characters. What's not to love?
Samuel, do you have a TikTok?
I don't, but every time we interview a lot of artists, and they always are like, no, I'm not on social media, or I'm not on TikTok. So I feel like you're the first person we've ever interviewed that's on TikTok. That's why I had to ask.
Well, and it totally makes sense that you are on TikTok. Like it's because I love TikTok. I will go on for 5 minutes and 30 minutes pass. I'm like, oh man. But I could see how you would be perfect because it is such a great storytelling app in little bits and pieces. So I'm gonna go and follow you guys right now.
Yay, I'll follow you too. It's there aren't a lot of people that I follow because it's kind of like for your page. Like the algorithm on there is just way too good. It's scary. But yeah, I am shocked that more artists aren't on social media. I just feel like it's such a missed opportunity. And a lot of people, I'm sure you have these conversations where an artist is also like a business person now. Like it's not like that, like roaming around, I'm just gonna do my art willy-nilly. That sadly in a way that doesn't exist anymore. And it is, you kind of have to go out there and be the first at something, or as a whole nother podcast about stress and working that out. So I'll have to have you guys on my podcast and we can talk about that side of the art world.
That would be great. Yeah, it is a whole nother side of it. So thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sending us your latest book, Bites of Terror. Quickly say where the best place to find you. Maybe it's your website that leads to all the other places that you're going, but share with us your website.
Oh, definitely. Well, first I want to say thank you so much for this lovely conversation. And I love your podcast. I find out about so many artists through there. So thank you. And yeah, our website, cuddlesandrage.com, is a good place to check out our work and our comics. And pretty much on everywhere on social media, we are at Cuddles and Rage. I'm one of those people where like a new platform comes out and then I sign up right away. I'm like, I gotta get the Cuddles and Rage, which more artists should do. Yeah, so you can find us pretty much everywhere, just Cuddles and Rage.
So I'm barely on Instagram now because I'm just like so over it. I'm on to TikTok, but your Instagram page is actually one that I really enjoy. Like I'll actually search for you to see what you've posted lately because I just really enjoy all the cute photos that you post. I don't know. I think that people should look you guys up because it's a fun feed to follow.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's really nice to put art out there and to entertain people and to feel like we can give them a little break and hopefully a little laugh from their day. That means the world to us.
Well, thank you so much. And we will be posting our unveiling or unboxing on our Instagram and our YouTube page, which is Miss Art World. So you can find that there if you're interested to see Samuel and I go through the book and Samuel sniff all the amazing smells. And then, of course, as always, follow us on Instagram at the Miss Art World Podcast. You can find all of our episodes and all the links to all the various places that you can find us to listen to on missartworld.com. And thank you guys for listening.
Pause. Okay. Katie, do it again.
I hate the out. You do the out.
I don't have the out. You have the out written down.
No, I don't have the out written down. That's why I have struggled so hard with it.
Oh.
I thought it was beautiful. And I love the fact that you guys were talking about slogans earlier, because like for my podcast, like I know on YouTube, you're supposed to have like your traditions and your slogans. I have struggled with that too. I'm like, should I say be cool? Or is that too hard? Is that too like on the nose? I'm ready to see you guys do your outro with your slogan if you're going to do it again.
Right? Well, and I know slogans are so important. Like, I don't know if you've seen, what is it, Tiger King, where that one lady was like, hello, all you cool cats and kittens. And then now it's stuck in my head forever. Like, we need a cool slogan, but we just haven't figured that out yet. So
Yeah, that's what you can put on your t-shirts when you're ready to do some merch.
yeah. All right. So I need to do
things. You literally was like, you can find us on things and platforms with things. Follow us. And then I was like, that didn't explain.
All right. Okay. I'll do it again. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you would like to check out Samuel and my unboxing video of Cuddles and Rage. Did I say that right? No, Bites and Terror. Dang it. Now the pressure's on. Okay.
Do you want me to try it?
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Goodbye, art world. Follow us everywhere that podcast can be found. You can find us. And if you'd like to check out the unboxing video of Cuddles and Rage, no, I did too.
Bites of Terror.
Bites of Terror. You do it. I'm done.
You did the same thing I did.
I know. Liz is out. She's just going to do out. We're out of here.
I'm ready. Yeah. Go to their YouTube. Check out the unboxing of Bites of Terror. Watch Samuel sniff the heck out of some cards. Go find the podcast anywhere and everywhere podcasts can be found. Like, follow us on Instagram, YouTube. See? Boom. Done. I think your first one was good.
Great. I'm going to keep all of this. And if someone's still listening, I think they've got the message.
Wait, and do your slogan. What was your T-Pain slogan earlier?
Oh, goodbye. Oh, wait, yeah. Goodbye, art world, and peace out, T-Pain.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you. Catherine, I'll be awaiting your slogan.
Great. I'll figure that out.